Now we're looking at measuring your account in your sort of social credit score, right? There's several scores that are in there, and these are like the main ones that I came across that seem to be the most influential as far as determining your account's visibility.
Bro, thank you. I appreciate you taking your time and thank you for walking me through this. This is amazing.
Yeah, hopefully after I get done, you don't want to run and hide from Twitter too fast.
No, I think it's important because and I we had the conversation before. We were told a certain thing, and I'm really big on truth and truth at all costs. Meaning, you have to. I don't want to get back into the same cycle that we had before, and at some point we have to break free of the cycle. We have to break free of manipulation of media, manipulation of words, manipulation of utilization of propaganda. Like I feel like at some point we need to live free again. And that's like all I care about. I don't even care. I think truth doesn't have a side. You know what I mean?
I'm with that 100%. And if there's any better time to do it, now's the time. So I mean, we got Trump back in office, so we got that on our side. He's more willing to kind of get some of those things fixed. So yeah, if we're gonna do it, we got to do it. Now's the time.
And I have a lot of other theories on that, but we can get into that later. Um,
Yeah, I know.
yeah, yeah.
All I'm saying is we have a better chance with it with him than we do with other people. So
I
not to say that that's guaranteed.
yeah,
So
I'd like to hope so. So you have been going through the algorithms. You've been looking into Twitter. You've been looking to Twitter 1.0, 2.0, and just to start at the top, we were told that once Elon bought Twitter, that the algorithm would be open sourced, that it would change, and that we are living in a free speech platform. That's what we were told. That's what pretty much 99% of people believe. And maybe your research has shown otherwise. Maybe that's a good lead in to kind of figure out where to start here.
yeah, so I mean, he did promise he would open source the code, which he did to some degree. Um, you know, a couple of things he also mentioned is he would make their label system. If you were getting labeled, he would make sure that that's transparent and the algo would be transparent and that their changes would be transparent, right? So after doing all the work I've done, I found that pretty much none of that is happening other than the fact that he did release open source part of the algorithm. And that's what I've been looking
Wh-
at. And
what
this
percentage do you
thread,
think has been open sourced?
you know, it's hard to tell because as you start going into this code, there's layers to it, right? So if they open source, like let's say a layer that we can't see, there may be terminology or mechanisms in that we can't see until we open up that coding, right? And then you do it for the next coding and the next coding. So there can be these hidden layers, and we don't really know how deep they go.
Mm.
But I can conservatively estimate that probably um, only about half of what they're operating on has been released. That would be a fair estimation.
Okay, I guess we go into what you have seen, and then I'd be curious your thoughts on what you think we haven't seen, but I guess we can save that for later. Where are we at right now?
Yeah, we'll cover some of that as we're going through this thread and all of that. So um, you'll get a good taste of it. So yeah, so that thread you're looking at right now, I put that thread together, and the picture that I have posted in there, I replied to Anna Paulina Luna when she brought up some stuff about censorship, and I replied to her about the reputation score that was in the code. And after I replied to her, that was her following post right there. Was the earlier this year on the GOP oversight, we proved Twitter 1.0 censored Americans. Now it's time to hold them accountable, and I'm pretty sure I have a smoking gun, which she was pretty much talking about the reputation score code that I found.
Hmm.
Lo and behold, though, there's a lot more than just the reputation score code. So that's what kind of leads into this thread and why I put this thread together. So if we kind of scroll down on that thread, let's see here. Yep. So that first post is where Elon released the actual open source code. So if you click on his post right there, just open that up. You can actually click right there, and that'll take you right to the code.
Hmm.
So there you go. There's the code. You can look at it. Elon posted it. It's not some random code that I just posted. I'm not cheating the system or anything. I'm literally showing the code that Elon gave us. Okay.
So this is, and the
And you
last
can
update was last year.
correct, and you can see that under all of the different files.
Okay.
I mean, it's got a lot of stuff down there at the bottom. So if you want to go back to that post, we'll kind of keep walking through it. But that's just to show you that that's the code I'm looking at. It isn't just some code on GitHub. It's the specific one that Elon Musk put out there. Okay.
And just to make sure that's like his real account, not his fake account, his real
Yep.
account. Just want to
It's his
confirm
real
that.
account.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
some people are like,
That's
that's
why I
not his
felt
real
it
account.
important to put in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, people will do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so much propaganda on here. People will post stuff like false stuff like that. So, I mean, I wanted to give it to people in a fashion that it was undeniable, right? So, I mean, it's undeniable that that's the code I'm looking
Okay.
at. Okay, so moving on to the next post. Basically, when Barry Weiss did her Twitter files, right? She posted these images. And if you kind of just want to go on each one of them real quick, see where it has the yellow marks down there?
Hmm.
The recent abuse strike, a trends blacklist, and then a strike count. This is basically what Twitter employees are looking at on their screen. They're not looking at the code like I am. They're looking at these screen interfaces that basically show this information.
Hmm.
Okay, so it's like an interface, and if you look, they have other stuff about the accounts as well, and they have other labels. So you can see there's Dan Bongino's. And those are some of the labels that were on his account. And then Charlie Kirk. And then lives at TikTok. So, and there's some other stuff on there too. You'll see right there where it says identity. You can see where it got cut off a little bit,
Hmm.
talking about a person's IP address and other stuff. So they're collecting a lot of data and information um, on people. But that's essentially when you're talking to a Twitter employee and saying, "Hey, do I have labels on my account?" Right? Those little tags right there is what people are talking about. Those are the labels. That's what they see.
And what is this? Do not take action on user without consulting. SIP
Yeah.
PES.
So basically, that's another group they have that is meant to determine whether accounts get shut down. So, like, remember how when they tried to shut down Trump's account, they didn't just shut it down. Like, it went through a process and went through multiple people and all that before they finally shut it down.
Hmm.
So that's just one of the groups that's part of that process. But you can look that group up, the
Hmm.
SIP, whatever. You can look that up, and there's
PES.
actually more information on
Okay.
it. Yeah. So, but that's just a rough idea. So,
Hmm.
and if you want to make sure that those are from Barry Weiss, you can click on her post. And literally, if you go through there, you'll see where she has those in there. I just consolidated all of it to one image,
Okay. So
so you
this is
didn't have to
from like her
scroll through all
actual
of
like
those.
Twitter 1.0
Correct.
Twitter files. Okay.
Correct. Yep. All right. So you're tracking so far, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is where the hammer really came down. If you look in the code where I have those highlighted in the red on the next post,
Mm-hmm.
all of those tags that we saw above are listed in the code. So if you click on those images, there's the recent abuse strike, there's the search blacklist, there's the trend blacklist. So all those labels we were seeing on those interface screens are right here in the code,
Hmm.
verbatim. Okay. And that's just those. You can see there's a bunch of other labels in these lists too.
not NS not safe
Yeah, it's
for
got
work, sensitive, read only, recent suspension, recommendations, blacklist, spam, high recall. I'm just reading some random ones.
brand safety, NSFA aggregate.
Spam top user compromised, engagement spammer, high recall, abusive, fake engagement, fake account, username, potentially compromised, rate limit DMs, rate limit favorites, rate limit follows, rate limit retweets.
Okay, so let's talk about those rate limit follows right there, the kind of the yellow highlighter
Hmm.
one. So basically, they can rate limit how many people can like your stuff, how many people can follow your stuff, and how many retweets you get. There's a rate limit for that, so
What?
they can basically keep you locked down. Yeah, they can put that on your account, and you won't get past a certain point. So they basically lock you down to a certain point.
So so these rate limits means that they can manually prevent your account from growing, engaging, etc.
Correct.
But they would have to manually do it, or is it something that algorithmically does?
This entire system can be ran automated. So yes and no. Yes, a person manually could do it if they wanted to, or undo it if they wanted to. But a lot of this stuff is happening automated.
Probably
Um,
AI
as
and some sort of
Yeah,
machine learning that is doing this on
of
its own.
course,
Yeah.
of course. Yep. So all right. So now we're kind of getting into the meat and potatoes here. So that's just to connect the Twitter files with 100% certainty to the code.
Hmm.
So we know that that code 100% represents what we were seeing in the Twitter files, right?
Yes.
Not to mention it's the same code Elon shared with us. So if we want to go back to that next post, let me keep going down. So those labels you saw above, those were just for an account.
Hmm.
So like they could put those on your account, and it's intrusive on anything you post from there on out. These labels are for individual tweets. So if you put something out that is, election misinformation or anything like that, it will be in this list.
Low
And so
quality,
that's the
misinformation
full list.
civic, misinformation crisis, misinformation generic, misinformation medical,
Yep.
not safe for
Yep.
work, search blacklist, recommendations, low quality. I mean, this list is enormous.
It's huge. And then they have, if you see at the bottom, they have all these like other placeholders for other stuff or stuff they're not disclosing,
This
right?
could be anything.
Correct.
I wonder if there's a code somewhere or, in order to decipher some sort of key. I'm sure they do, right?
Unfortunately, it's just like a list, and they just call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We could possibly use Grok to crack those to see what they are. It does have a little bit of success, but we both know Grok can hallucinate as well sometimes too. So, um,
Misinformation Brazilian election, misinformation French election, misinformation Philippine election. Meaning
yep,
that's probably other states, other countries asking for this to be taken down because those are specific countries.
yep, yep. So all that stuff we saw with Brazil and all that's all tied into all that stuff.
They had been working with them.
Yeah, yep. And they were working with the U.S. There's a U.S. misinfo election up there, but they kind of misspelled it a little bit. But I showed it in my next thread. If you want to go to the next one, so there you can see they have the misinfo COVID-19, the misinfo COVID-19 vaccine. So those are different, right? So
Hmm.
one is you're saying like, oh, the virus originated in China or something like that. They can squash that, right? But then the other one is if you talk bad about the vaccine itself, they can squash that as well. And then they have the one right there, misinfo U.S. elections.
Hmm.
So after obviously there was a lot of questions about the 2020 election, they were able to squash any dissent or any questions about any of that kind of stuff. And it's just literally can be completely automated. Or it can be manual as well. If it, something gets traction, they're like, yeah, we need to shut this down. Boom, shut it down manually. So manual is the fail safe.
Hmm.
So if you want, let's continue on. But that's basically out of the list I showed you above.
Yep.
And then that one's just another one that's specific in that list, the persona non grata. If you click on what that actually means, it basically means somebody that's fully unacceptable or unwelcome, especially to a foreign government. So, I mean, that's pretty wild to just have that specifically listed right in your code to like silence speech and censor people.
So if you're speaking poorly of a person specifically,
It could be that could be considered anything. It could be like, hey, you're talking about Elon, or you're talking about X, you're persona non grata, or that could
hmm,
mean specifically a government or a combination of the two, right? We don't really know how they're implementing it. We just know they're implementing it. That's the mystery smoke behind the screen, right?
yeah,
Like we can see the screen, we can see the rules, but we don't know how they're enforcing this persona non grata.
and you don't know what this label exactly means, how they're determining what is that. You just know that they're doing it.
Correct. Yes, precisely. Okay. So then we start getting out of the labels. So the last two things we looked at is labels that could apply to your account and then labels that could apply to your tweet. Now we're looking at measuring your account in your sort of social credit score, right? And there's several scores that are in there, and these are like the main ones that I came across that seem to be the most influential as far as determining your account's visibility, and that's your user mass score. And if you want to read what your so that determines your user mass score. But if you want to read that,
The algorithm used to calculate the mass score takes into account various factors such as user account age, number of followers and followings, device usage, and safety status, restricted, suspended, verified. The calculation implies adding and multiplying weight factors and adjusting the mass score based on a threshold for the number of friends and followers.
okay. So basically, they're measuring you based off of your usage. So if you're not on the app as much,
Hmm.
you're not going to get as much of visibility because they want people on the app. So kind of like what we talked about, they're trying to keep people locked in and engaged, right? So by being on the app more, you get rewarded more. By being on the app less, you get rewarded less. The other important part in there is they talk about multiplying weight factors. So all of these ways they measure you, they can be multiplied by a factor. So like let's say I have a score of 75, right? But if they give me a weight of zero point 0.5 because they don't like me, or that's just what the system is determined, that's going to lower my score, right? Because it's a multiplier.
Hmm.
So the highest you can get is one on a weight, or you can even get weights that are higher, so a two. So if they're trying to boost you
Hmm.
on other stuff, they can multiply your boost, or they can essentially multiply your deboost. It goes both ways.
So if you're in the
So
club, if you are one of the preferred accounts, if you are one of the accounts they want you to see, then they can just add the multiplying factor, weight factor to you.
yeah, then they don't have to go in and mess with your reputation score at all. They can just give it a multiplier and just go into their weight, boom, increase the weight, and it can literally do that across the board for everything.
Hmm.
So that's one important takeaway from that. But if you want to go to the next picture, so that's where it has it in the code, where it talks about the user mass, and then you can see right there where it says page rank 95 to 15. Down just a little bit, down a little bit, no, up, not
Yep.
too far, right there. Yep. Page rank 95 to 15. So that's theoretically what you're supposed to live in between. So, remember when we talked about those scores when we ran accounts and all that
Yes.
stuff? And Elon was like at a 98. He's clearly was outside of that threshold.
Hmm.
So he's obviously getting pumped. But the question is who's under 15? Is it even possible to be under 15? And based on the code, it's from 0 to 100. So if you get below that 15, is that like the point of no return? Like your account literally goes to a place where it can never return from, right? So that's kind of one of the ways they're calculating your score, and that's based off your follower account and other metrics. So if you want to go to the next page, that one shows some other scores. The toxicity score. They have a block score. And I can't read that last one.
Reported tweet score.
Yeah, reported tweet score. So if you get your tweets reported a lot, that's affecting your score as well. So
If a lot of
the
people
point the
block
point
you,
being,
it affects your score. And
right? So yep. So basically, whether you did something wrong or not, if a bunch of people come along and block you, you're basically getting your social credit score hindered. Or if you've got information that they don't want getting out, they can do the same thing. They don't necessarily have to attack you out in the open, right? They don't have to say, "Oh, Matt, you're wrong," or "Parzival, you're wrong." They just mass report you, and nobody sees you. You get deboosted.
or I could just throw a bunch of fake followers and engagement your way, which could crush you too.
Yep.
I could just
Yeah.
go online to one of these SPMM websites and just throw them at you.
Yep. Absolutely. So, and we can go to the next one. So that one is where it brings up the follow score, and that's where it gets a little bit deeper because now it's looking at the people you follow and the people that follow you. And it's basically weighing you based on your circle. So if you're followed by a bunch of like porn bots and crypto bots and all that stuff, right? It's gonna use those accounts following negatively against your account, even though you may not even want it or know that they're following.
So if I really want to ruin someone, I just send them a bunch of porn bots.
Yeah. And then why do you think a lot of people get mostly porn bots sent their way?
Hmm.
Why do you think that that's the most prevalent bot on the platform? Right? Because now it ties you into that cluster of people.
Even if you don't engage with them, even if you don't know that they're there, someone could just kind of
Correct.
tank you.
Just from simply them following you. Yes, absolutely. So yep. So that's how they kind of factored the score. Is that the last slide?
Yeah.
Okay, we
Or
can go to
or
the
if you
next
have
one.
people that are considered controversial want to see your stuff, then that would work also.
Yeah, and one thing I want you to see in here, look at line 73.
Mm-hmm.
See where it says left sum of following and right sum of following? So it's almost as if they're separating people into the left and right, and then making your score based off of your following people on the right versus the left.
Hmm.
So if you lean more left, you may get a higher score. If you lean right, you get a lower score.
And they've done that with a lot. Number with non-zero follow score. Number of
Yep.
squares.
Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So it's just showing you that they're manipulating your account based off other people and based off which way you lean politically.
Mm.
Okay, now we can keep going. So I did the reputation score post. Let's see here, back in, it looks like I can't see the highlight there.
May
What
20th.
does it say in the picture? Yeah, so May 20th is when I did my big thread on it. It wasn't the first time I posted about it, but is when I did my big thread. And you can see that X Daily posted about it like 3 weeks later. Um, basically the same information. And if you click on their picture, you can see how many views they got. Oh no, that one's chopped
It's
off.
chopped off.
They got like 7 million views, and you can see mine on there
Hmm.
on the one on the left. Mine hardly got any traction.
Yeah.
And the reason I posted that is because it shows the discrepancy in it's not what you post, it's who posts it,
Hmm.
right? So me and this guy literally posted about the same thing. I was even first. Mine was way more in depth, but I got no visibility. This guy posts it and 7 million views.
Well, he also said something really interesting. He said this shadow ban even applied to Elon's account and prevented his tweets from trending. I don't know if I believe that.
I don't think it did, but it could, and it probably is. Well, I wouldn't say it probably is. It is doing that to other people,
Hmm.
right? But but again, they used Elon Musk as a way to, engagement farm. I would say some of this stuff because it sure as heck wasn't the first time this information was out. But again, it just goes to show you that even if you post something breakthrough on X, right, it doesn't mean you're going to get views.
Hmm.
It's not that, like all these people telling you, oh, you get on X, you're going to make tens of thousands of dollars, right? No, you're not. Even if you have first rate content that's brand new, nobody's ever heard of, that doesn't mean you're going to get anything. And other people can just come along and take that and run with it and make thousands of dollars.
Hmm.
So that's kind of why I posted that image, is just to kind of show that, I found this stuff before anybody, didn't really get the credit, but obviously Elon and a lot of these people know that it's happening,
Hmm.
right? Because Elon talked about it. So if you want to go into that thread, that's actually my reputation score thread. We can click in that and walk through that one real quick. All right, so basically we can just go to the next slide. That's just kind of letting people know what we're going to talk about. So that one is another one. So the other one you saw was the reputation score when we said the page rank 95 to 15. You can see that in the second image, right?
Yeah, they're actually an algorithm that seems to base your reputation on a score of 15 to 95. It is theoretically possible to be outside these lines since the range is coded to be 0 to 100. We can see the algo and code for ranking here. Different.
Yep. So when you went to that code that Elon that we did at the very beginning,
Mm.
where Elon and we went to the actual page where the algorithm was,
Mm.
you see the blue backslashes. You
Yeah.
can follow that path to get to the same file if you want to actually look at the file. And if you do go to that path, click on the next image. That's what you're going to find. You're going to find that code we were looking at earlier when I was talking about the reputation score.
And you have the
So
95 to 15
that
right here.
basically, right. So this, remember, this is the post I did initially about it. The other one was kind of the outline of some of this stuff, right?
Mm.
So we're kind of getting into the nitty gritty on the reputation score. But we can continue to go down. And so, yeah, it has to do with your followers and follower ranking and all that stuff. And if you're, outside of the right follow to following ratio, you can be penalized too.
Does it tell you what the proper ratio is, or
Yeah, 60%. So if you're following 10,000, if you have 10,000 followers, you don't want to be over 4,000.
is there a minimum?
Like a minimum to follow.
Mm.
No, it's just like once you hit the 60% range, like once you're above that, like you're good to go. Once you fall below that, it's logarithmic based.
Mm.
And I'll show you a chart for it here as we go through all this
Okay.
stuff.
There seems to be many algorithms that are responsible for determining a user's visibility, yet it's a summation of all these that produce these results. There is unquestionably much to fix in the Twitter algorithm, but it is doable.
So you can see I was like being nice and trying to help these guys at the beginning, right? And being like, hey, you got this stuff, fix this stuff. Like, let's, get this thing going.
The
So, I
question the
mean,
question that remains is now that we all know about it, will anything be done to fix it? Fortunately, with the code being open source, it is publicly visible the effort and time frames these fixes are taking place. So it sounds like you were actually pretty positive, thinking that you're bringing to light maybe things that they had been missing. And
right. And that was the whole intention, right?
yeah, I mean, that sounds like the vibe. And this was a year and a half ago.
Yep. And that obviously that vibe slowly changed over time because I just kept seeing all the failures that Elon Musk kept making and all the promises he kept breaking. So, it's like, okay, dude, eventually I can only buy so much of this nonsense. But yeah, if you want to go back to that main thread now. So yeah, so we went through that thread real quick. That right there is basically, I'll just let you read it. It's kind of self-explanatory.
Additionally, Twitter 1.0 also went beyond just censoring individual users, but censored entire groups, mainly conservatives, by using a clustering method. By grouping these accounts in clusters, they were able to silence entire groups and topics. It is shown in the code here.
So if you click on that, read the red part. I mean, this isn't even code. It's literally words telling you what it does.
Tip: use this score if your use case needs to penalize clusters that a lot of other users are also interested in.
So penalize a cluster that a lot of other users are interested in. So if people are interested in it, they can penalize that whole cluster.
Use this score if your use case needs to penalize clusters where the users known for the cluster are popular.
So now if somebody is a popular person and now they're becoming part of that cluster, they can censor that cluster now. So they have all these little ways they can do it. If you want to read the last one, just since we're
Yeah,
already
use
in
this
here.
score if your use case needs to penalize both clusters that a lot of other users are interested in, as well as clusters where the users known for that cluster are popular. Use this score if your use case needs to penalize clusters that a lot of other users are also interested in.
So basically, when you're talking cluster, you're talking groups of users,
Mm.
right? That are connected with similar interests and topics. So if you have people like me and you going through the code, right, and we're exposing the censorship, they can literally censor the entire cluster that's trying to expose the censorship, right? And so that's kind of where you get into this loop, right?
Mm.
Because it's like you're trying to expose the censorship, but by exposing the censorship, you get censored more, and then by talking about how you're being censored more, you get censored harder. It's like this, death spiral of an operation. And then again, when you have these clusters, you're doing it to groups. It's far more. If you think about it, if you want to silence a particular topic, right? Um, you're kind of stuck silencing individual users.
Mm.
But if you right, because if one person is talking about how the vaccine is bad, good, whatever, right, you can silence that one person. But what happens when millions of people are doing that, right? You can censor that whole cluster down and tighten that whole group all at once. It's far more effective and far more devious. All right, so let's just keep on rolling, I guess. So that's just where I put. There wasn't a lot more in the actual thread. I just posted that for documentation
Mm.
purposes and like when I found it and like how long it's been sitting there and unaddressed, right?
Mm.
Um, but we can keep going. Let's see here. So yeah, so and there even in the code they have
Government
coding
requests.
for government requested stuff.
As if these
So that tells us
as if these censorship mechanisms are not enough, there is actually coding for a government request to intervene on things they consider misinformation.
yep. And again, we don't know how these channels are operating, but it clearly looks like there is some direct connection to these government requests and the code. So how deep that layer goes, we have no idea.
We can also see the code that was directly responsible for suspending and silencing the sitting president of the United States at real Donald Trump. Here's the full thread on it I did previously.
So basically, I highlighted the main code that was responsible for suspending him. But basically, like if I highlighted it in such a sequence that it's like, okay, if you're reading the code and you're gonna suspend somebody, those are the important lines of code that you're gonna operate
Hmm.
in order to suspend an account. And that's not just for Donald Trump, that's for everybody, right? Um, but I wanted to point out that this code that's open source literally shows, what was used to take Donald Trump off of the internet or, off of Twitter. Um, but yeah, more so off the internet, right? Because I mean, they got rid of what was that other Parlor?
Yep.
Remember they dumped Parlor. So I mean, they literally crushed everything. So I mean, this is just one of the ways that they were able to do that. So that's all those accounts that got suspended. That's how it all happened. Um, we don't necessarily need to go in that thread, but I mean, basically, I walked step by step on like all the little pieces of code that do it. So like if you go up to that first slide,
Hmm.
um,
Just all the
let's see,
snippets of code to
yeah, so
suspend.
like that's the number that's used to say that it's suspended. That's the page that I showed you that used the suspension. The one above that where it says objects, keep going up a little bit more. Yeah, see how it says object author is suspended. So basically, when you see his account, it says author is suspended. That's what you're seeing on his account. When you see author account is suspended, so that's what's basically implementing that. If you go to somebody's suspended account,
Hmm.
and then if you scroll down a little bit more, um, I talk about some of the Tombstone stuff that goes on in there. Let's see here. I know you're kind of probably going, all right, we're kind of getting off track here a little bit, but so see where it says account suspended right there on
Yep.
Donald Trump's account. So that code that we saw above, object suspended, that's basically what makes that happen,
Hmm.
right? So we're seeing the code that's responsible for what we're seeing. And if you want to keep scrolling down a little bit,
Once you have been
the other
suspended,
thing
the
too is if you
models
get,
then make sure previously suspended accounts are depreciated. This means that once you have been suspended, you're permanently labeled.
yep. So if you've been suspended before, they can put a label on your account, and that will reduce your visibility. So, like, let's say you posted something, they flagged you, and they suspended your account. You appealed it, you won the appeal, and now you're back on. Right?
Doesn't
You
matter.
will have that has been suspended on your account. So yeah, you're back on, but you're not what you used to be.
Hmm.
And yeah, you might get some views right out of the gate because you got suspended and everybody's hyped up. But it's like, what happens a week later when that flag or that label really kicks in,
Hmm.
right? And nobody can see you. Um, and so that's just a bit more of the code showing how he was suspended. And then we can go back up to where I have that tombstone thread. That was like the first thread I did, not the first thing on the code, but yeah, we can click on that. Nope, you passed it
This one right here.
right there. Yep, yep. So yeah, if you want to read
If you've
that,
ever been censored on Twitter or other platforms, you'll want to read this. This thread will expose the algorithm likely used by Twitter for mass censorship. Let me introduce you to the Tombstone Generator.
and that's literally what it's called. It's called the Tombstone
Huh.
Generator.
I thought you were being cute. That's literally the name.
No, that's literally the name, bro. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This shit's wild. Okay,
Oh
so if
yeah,
you
yes.
go into
There's an
there,
algorithm that's called Tombstone Generator, which is buried deep in the layers of the coding for Twitter. You can see some of the coding regarding visibility here in the first lines of code.
all of it says visibility, so it's all in regards to your stuff being visible on your account. So what that actually is, we can scroll down. I just kind of went through some of the
Mm.
code, but the most important stuff is down at the bottom, I would say, of this thread. Yep, those right there. So that tells you the reason that the tombstone is applied. Uh, Deleted, bounced, deleted, protected author, suspended author, author blocks viewer, exclusive tweet, NSFW, viewer is underage. So basically, if somebody's underage and you're posting adult content, it puts something over it. But yeah, those are the other ones. If you want to click the next one too, there's a few more. Community tweet is hidden, suspended, adult media, violent media, sensitive media. So basically, what happens when this particular code is put on? Have you ever muted or blocked an account?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you know how like if you go and you look at a post by them, like it says you have blocked this user and it's got
Hmm.
like a big old block over it?
Yeah.
That's what the tombstone is. So this is that operating. And it
Hmm.
just changes whatever it is, whether you got a muted block whether they're a protected author, whether they're suspended, whatever, that block you see is being operated by this code.
Hmm.
So when you ask, so like a lot of people ask me, right? Hey, is this code still happening? Yes, this code right here is still happening right now on Twitter, right? You can still see these tombstones everywhere. So that tells you that they're still operating with some of this stuff, if not a majority of it. Okay, we can kind of go back to the main page now. All right. One more, I think. All right. There we go. So yeah, so there you go. I show you what the tombstones actually look like. That's what it looks like when something gets tombstoned.
And I see this in my replies a lot. This post is unavailable.
Yep.
So
Yep.
does that mean that person who's been replying, there's just do they know
They
that their reply can't be seen?
sometimes it's under probable spam, right? And sometimes it's under this. Like sometimes at the bottom at the replies it'll say click to show more replies, and then you click it and nothing comes up, right?
Yeah.
Those could be that could be because there are replies there, but they're like crypto spam or something else
Hmm.
that's gotten removed. But it's still showing that there's a comment there. But like if somebody like replies to you that maybe now blocks you or something. So like let's say you got some troll, they come along and they say, "Oh, I don't like you, Matt. You're
Hmm.
an asshole, right?" And then they go to their account, your account, and block you. Well, their reply is still going to be under your post, but it's going to be unavailable because they have you blocked.
Hmm. So it could be a lot of things.
Correct. Correct. So, yep, we can keep on rolling here. All right, so this is kind of where we get into the models, and this is where things get a little sideways.
Okay.
We can see that they have these reputation scores and labels and all that, but now they have these models, and these models tell us nothing. Like they don't say how they're trained or what they're operating with to make decisions with these AI. So we can see here they have several models: abusive, NSFW, and toxicity.
And
So basically, they're using these models to figure this stuff out. So when you post, they can tell.
could could it be a possibility that since they have AI and language models building out part of the algorithm that they themselves don't know?
It's possible
Like,
that they don't know exactly how these models work. And to be honest, I don't know if they even understand how the code fully works, just because, well, let's just say I have a pretty good hunch they don't know how it works because I see like their employees post stuff sometimes and it's very closely related to the work I've already put out. And
hmm,
it kind of makes me laugh. And I'm like, huh. I was like, that sounds pretty much like what I was saying like 6 months ago,
hmm.
but okay. So, but one thing they said was it was extremely complex to go through all the stuff. So they said that's why it's taking a lot of time, which I can agree. It is very complex stuff.
I mean, because like
Um, uh,
if you ask someone that's writing or working for OpenAI and doing ChatGPT, most will say that they build out the models and they don't actually know how it comes up to the decisions or how it gives the output, right? You do the machine learning, you
no,
do the AI, and you actually don't understand how it comes to the conclusions that it does.
yeah, pretty
They don't
much. I mean,
understand
that's
their
why you
work
can ask Grok. You can ask Grok the same question 3 different times, and it'll give you 3 different answers.
because they don't know. There's no like
Right?
definitive.
Correct. So like that kind of ties back to what you're saying is they don't know what it's actually going to respond, right? So when you post something here on X, their models are going to look at what you said and determine whether it's abusive, whether it's NSFW, whether it's toxic, based off what they've trained to assume that is, and you may get hit with some depreciation of your account. And again, what is considered abusive? What is considered toxic? Like there's no defining terms. Like with the reputation score, we know it's between 15 and 95, or at least 0 and 100, right? We know that. It says it in the code. But what's defining these things here? It could be literally anything.
Hmm. And
So
even the team
that's
themselves, they could possibly not even know, which is pretty scary. Actually, I think that's scarier.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't definitively say no,
Yeah.
they don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if they did.
Hmm.
So, um, but if you keep scrolling down, or actually click on go back. Yeah, we're on the next slide. Yeah, we're good. We're good. So click on that first picture.
Well, why did it just
Oh,
jump on me?
because I got more threads there than it'll actually show without doing a show more. I've done that many. Go back down
All right. I clicked on
right
this.
there. Yep, yep, that's the one.
Well, it just jumped by itself.
Uh, that's weird. Go back up. I think it's just opening up more of the posts. So there you go.
Okay.
Should be able
If
to
I
click
just
on
click
it
it,
now.
right?
Yep. All right, now we're good. Oh, that's really strange.
What's going
All
on?
right, well, let's go back. I have no idea.
All right.
Well, let's just click on the let's just
I
click
went
on the
back one.
images. We can.
Dude, they don't want me let me open it.
I know they won't.
All right. Looking
Okay.
into the toxicity
Oh, wow.
model, we find that there is a keyword list used in order to make computational decisions on whether a post visibility is altered. The list includes words for politics, insults to race. These keywords, however, are not open sourced.
So you can see where it's calling out all the keywords.
Hmm.
They literally say it. And then if you go to the next image, you can see here it's got them listed out: politics, insults, and race. Again, those the words that are considered that are not listed. That's just like the the subject matter, right? So like
So that's probably in the code dump that is not open source and available.
correct, exactly. And that list could be massive, right? So when I say it's 50%,
Hmm.
depending on how big that list is, right? But I think like insults, we kind of know what that is.
Hmm.
It's like you're an asshole or whatever. And then race, I think we can kind of figure those ones out. Those are pretty, you know. But there's probably some on there that shouldn't be on there too, right? Um, but yeah, then there's the toxicity model.
Model to
So
detect
remember when we
toxic
were
tweaks. Toxicity includes marginal content like insults and certain types of harassment.
correct?
That's just
So
the
remember
README.
when we were looking at the scores earlier and
Hmm.
it had the toxicity score? That's basically what this is based off of. So basically, you're getting the toxicity model that is score that is based off of this model.
I'm gonna try. I'm
And
gonna
then I
try to
think
click it
there's
again. See if
one
it'll let me
more.
do it. Okay, it does. I don't know what that
Oh
was.
no, we did get to the last one. Okay, yeah, so we're on to the next one. So that one right there, and they even admit that they haven't shown all the code. And if you read that yellow line that I have highlighted in that one
Additionally, not all the
image,
models have been released, and it's even confirmed in the code. Here's what it says. Model to detect abusive content. This includes violations of Twitter's terms of service, include hate speech,
oh,
target
sorry,
harassment,
sorry, it's
abuse.
the last line. It's the last line. I'm sorry.
We
I
have several
apologize.
more models and rules that we are not going to open source at this time because of the adversarial nature of this area.
Yep. So they basically tell you we're not open sourcing the other models. How many models? We don't know. Models for what? We don't know. But there's clearly other models, and they're clearly doing something that they don't want us to know what it's doing.
Hmm. And there's
And again,
like no way to
this is
guess.
their words. This isn't my words,
Yeah.
right? I mean, they're literally telling you. That's what I'm saying. I'm not making any of this up. I'm literally just repeating what they've already said. So, so they are hiding code. That right there. The next one is where I pointed out about how community notes was being completely biased,
Hmm.
and I think we see that a lot more now. We've heard a lot of more people complain about it, and even the Krasensteins have their little gang of disinformation, people out there doing the community note voting, right? Well, I was back there calling it out July 14th last year. I was saying that there was a serious problem, and here we are over a year later, and it's still a problem.
And
Um,
and I
and
do want to note that you yourself have never been community noted for any of the content that you put up.
None. I've actually requested them to community note
Hmm.
it, and they won't community note it. Like I've even dared them to community note it. They won't community note it because it's not wrong.
So for clarity,
And what's
none of
even
your research had ever been community noted by X or the team, and obviously they know it exists.
correct? Yep. Yep. And so, with that community note right there, I actually had one put on Twitter Daily. So if you see that picture down there where it says
Hmm.
Twitter Daily, that was the post that I showed you earlier. They got 7 million views, right?
Hmm.
And we had yep, that one right there. That was the post that I showed you earlier. It had 7 million views. The Twitter team found code with the Elon Musk and all that. There was actually a note on their post to give me credit,
Hmm.
and they wouldn't post it. They would not post it. And if you go and look at the next screen, or go back, I think it's if you go back. Sorry, we're kind of in the middle of the pictures there. One more. I basically took the data from that community node and added it all up, and you can see it should have posted like
Hmm.
well over. It got upvoted way more than it got downvoted, and it got the agree and the helpful. They still wouldn't post it because that's one of their peeps. They didn't want one of their peeps to look bad.
Hmm.
Somebody sent me the data for all of it.
So this was a community note that should have been on there, and they did not. Note status aren't reached by community majority rule to identify notes that are helpful to a wide range of people. Note status require agreement between contributors who have sometimes disagreed in their past ratings. This helps prevent one-sided ratings.
So basically, a disclaimer to say, "Hey, we reserve the right to not do shit." Right?
Yeah.
That's basically all that disclaimer is. But clearly, you can see that I had a community note on their post that was legitimate, and they wouldn't post it.
Clarification: reputation score was discovered by at the one Parzival, not Twitter team.
Yep.
Okay.
But heaven forbid I make somebody look at Twitter look bad when I'm actually trying to help them and make them look good, right? But whatever, it is what it is. So I think then I kind of just talk about some of the issues still going on. And then right about the time I was putting this together, about a week before, Jim Jordan put out that bombshell censorship
Hmm.
post. And I was hoping to get his attention because it was kind of fresh on his mind, but it didn't get his attention. So, but he's all over it with the censorship stuff. But if you go through there, there's definitely some links back to my stuff if you want to go through that on another time.
Hmm.
But yeah, we can keep rolling here. I think you're kind of starting to see the big ass picture here. Um,
Let's hope this
no,
information
let me slow.
initiates some serious change on social media platforms to stop censoring free speech and limiting the reach of conservatives. With elections coming up in less than a year, it is more important than ever that this be addressed immediately. In conclusion, these mechanisms are still in place on social media platforms, including X, although Elon Musk claims a new algorithm is about to roll out. Until it does, it is safe to assume that most of the old algorithm is still in place. The time to restore free speech is now. So, I mean, I just want to touch on that. The tone is still you're just trying to be helpful. You have a concern for conservative voices being throttled, that the old mechanisms are still in place under kind of almost an assumption that Twitter is maybe not aware of what's going on and you are trying to be helpful. I mean, that's the vibe still.
Yeah. That's essential. That's essentially it. And I mean, and I'm literally serving it up to him on a silver platter and telling him, okay, here's the actual code you need to fix,
Hmm.
right? I'm not just making these conjectures and talking about some code that's elusive that they don't even know exists. I'm literally pointing them to the exact code. So I mean, I'm not hiding or like trying to be deceitful in any way. But yeah, I mean, I tried to keep it respectful at least
Hmm.
to a certain point, and then I was like, all right, clearly you guys don't want to fix this stuff. So now I gotta start being a little bit more trolly on
Hmm.
you. So I get a little, I like to troll a little bit on them
Yeah, I
too.
mean, it's Twitter.
Um,
That's what, isn't that what this designed to do, by the way? We're supposed to troll and have fun and engage and put out ideas and discuss and troll bad ideas.
yeah,
That's what we're supposed to do.
totally. So I mean, like I said, I tried to get their attention with doing it
Mm.
the way I did, and then it's like, all right, well, let's see if I can get your attention if I troll. Well, let's see if I can get your attention if I do this. So I'm like, I'm literally I even went as far as to subscribe to Elon Musk and post on his subscriber only
Mm.
that Tombstone post, and he still didn't even respond. So then that's when I was kind of like, okay, this whole thing is kind of not looking as
Hmm.
what it's supposed to be. So,
All right,
but believe me, I've tried.
let's keep going.
Um,
I think we'll eventually get there.
so yeah, so if we go into that, so that was kind of like the end of that thread, and I was
Hmm.
like, all right, hopefully this is enough to like shove it up the ranks, and hopefully somebody will look into this, right? And quite a bunch of time went by, maybe a month, and then I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to start doing threads, and that's when I did this Twadoop thread. And
To
so if
Hadoop,
you go in
there it
there,
is. This thread will outline the creation of the function to Hadoop, which is a special code used by the algorithm to generate a list of user mass scores. It will discuss Parag Agrawal's involvement as well as other ex-Twitter employees.
so basically I'm reiterating on some of my previous work.
Mm.
So that's the mass score stuff that I showed before.
Yep.
But that other image that's next to it with the code,
Mm.
yeah, that one, you can see it has the Twadoop in it. And you can see up at the top where it says user mass at the very end.
Mm.
So basically that's what led me to the connection between the user mass and Twadoop. So that's what kind of got me searching into that. And then once I got into this Hadoop lane, it's a lot of stuff started clicking. But yeah, if you want to read that next one, then I can explain what you're
The
seeing in the
user,
pictures.
the user mass is part of the tweet cred group of scoring metrics used to determine accounts visibility on the platform. The user mass has a TSV file that is generated by the Hadoop function. A TSV file is simply a plain text data table that is native to many applications.
So there it reads the user mass TSV file generated by a Hadoop user mass job. So basically, it's saying that it's creating that file, and then that's what explains the TSV file is. So
Yeah.
basically, it's a table that's like in a notepad format,
Hmm.
right? And that's all it is. So we basically are all in this list of user mass scores, and we're all scored in that list, and we're all ranked. So you might be number whatever, I might be number whatever, right? Depending on where we're at. Um, everybody's in there. Everybody's got a mass score.
This TSV file acted as a pseudo list of each account's social credit score on the platform. This score could then be easily manipulated by changing values in the tables of the files manually or adding the weight multiplier to scores.
So you can see where it's so right there. Let's read 73. So basically, it's the tweet cred. It's giving you an output. All right. And then it looks at your current tweet cred, and then it looks at your tweet cred today. So you can see that your tweet cred is iterating, right,
Hmm.
over time. So we know that that file is adjusting because you can see it's writing to that TSV file,
Hmm.
and it's outputting that information to the file. And then let's see here. That just talks about how they extract the tweet cred. There's not a lot of code in there past like line 4. It's all just verbal.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you want to read some of that, but yeah, it basically breaks that down a little bit.
We can move on. Here's where we begin to connect previous employees that had a hand in the development of Hadoop, TweetCred, and the social credit system. There's correspondence between Hadoop files between Parag and Kevin Weil in 2012, both very high-level employees.
So there's Kevin Weil, and he even asked which file it was, and he was replying to Parag Agrawal. You can see his @ symbol there. So he's asking him where those files are at.
It's funny
So
that they used to work on
basically
Twitter, isn't it? Actually,
Yep.
they don't anymore.
Yeah.
But they used to.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, damn, I shouldn't have posted that years ago. It always comes back.
Right.
Internet's forever, guys. Internet's forever.
But you can see he deleted that post, whatever it was. You can see Parag deleted it, and there you see the tombstone there. And then if we go a little bit further, you just want to read that.
Yeah, who is Kevin Weil? He is Twitter's product head. He later went on to, in 2016, to join Facebook's Instagram. I'm very curious to know what exactly was in the files Will was asking Parag about. This post from Parag just happens to be deleted now.
So basically, it talks about. I'm just showing where Kevin Weil. So if Kevin Weil was working on Twadoop in 2012 when that post happened,
Mm.
right? And then he went over to Facebook. What do you think is being implemented over at Facebook?
Hmm.
Probably something very similar would be my guess,
Considering
right?
that's what his job here was.
Yeah, exactly. So so remember when I was telling you that Facebook, Instagram, all those, they're not any different. They're
Yeah.
not any different. It's all the same. It's just they just tweak it a little bit differently so they look different, right? Okay, we're hiding this and they're hiding that. But yeah, if you want to keep rolling.
Now, remember, this interaction between them was in 2012, but Twadoop actually goes back even further, all the way to 2009. We can see that references to Twadoop from another ex-Twitter employee that helped create the data platform Twitter. Notice he said data, not social media.
Look where it says it in his thing. He said created Twitter's data platform,
How create data
not social
platform.
media platform, data platform, because they're collecting massive amounts of data.
Twitter's namespace for Hadoop libs is .com.twitter.twadoop.
Yep. And look at his hashtag squarecog. So I find that kind of ironic.
I mean, we all had usernames back in the day we kind of regret.
Yeah, I think he's actually he's definitely a square cog now in the machine, because if his stuff is still rolling,
Yeah.
it's causing some serious problems. And then if we keep going, we can see, yeah, if you just want to read it, like I tried to explain it pretty
It
well.
should be clear that Twadoop has been around for quite some time, specifically since 2009. Let's put some focus back on Parag, who was there since 2011, through his reign as CEO to 2022 when Elon Musk took over and fired him.
Okay, so basically, like he took over for Jack Dorsey when Jack Dorsey stepped down for
Yep.
that short period of time, right? Well, why did he take over? Well, because he knew how everything worked. He knew how all the mechanisms worked.
Parag took over for Jack Dorsey as CEO and was previously the chief technology officer before joining Twitter. Parag got his master's and PhD from Stanford in 2008. Stanford resides only 35 miles from Twitter headquarters and has been accused in the proliferation of censorship.
So remember that big old debate with Dr. Bhattacharya and Stanford and all of that? You remember that whole big
Yep.
old thing? Well, Bhattacharya was the one at the very beginning that had all those labels on his account too. So it's just quite interesting that he went to school not too far away at the university that's causing a lot of these problems, and he just so happened to end up Twitter. So it's almost like a match made in heaven, unfortunately. But in this case, hell, I would say.
More Parag. Prior to studies at Stanford,
Yep.
Parag lived abroad. He was born in India and gained his bachelor's degree with the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay. 6 years of arriving to the U.S. in 2005, Parag obtained his PhD and began his work at Twitter, censoring Americans. Caps.
Yep. Yep.
Parag has also made his stance clear on freedom of speech. He said, "Our role is not to be bound by the First Amendment, but our role is to serve a healthy public conversation and to focus less on thinking about free speech, but thinking about how the times have changed." Really interesting thing to say.
Right? Exactly. It's like he's telling you exactly what he's doing. And that was just kind of my follow up, my post, to basically like back off.
It's very disturbing that someone can come from another country, obtain U.S. citizenship, reap the benefits of America, then go on to destroy the Constitution, the very thing that makes America great. My God-given rights are not debatable, and they will never take our freedom.
Yep. And I still stand by that. So there's Twadoop. Okay. You want to keep rolling. The next one is basically that is where I came up with a way to search your scores in Twitter, and you can scroll through some of the replies and you can see what people are getting.
Everyone wants the prompts I use in
using-
Grok to run an analysis of their account. Here is the one to use Used to determine account scoring. Use the exact text and replace your handle with yours only. Good luck. And it's funny because actually, this is a post I originally found your account, by the way.
Yeah.
This is the
I
first
mean,
one I saw. And I was like, I gotta try this. And I forget what my score was, but it was like 75 or something. I was like, why? What did I do wrong? You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you're not Elon Musk, so you're not getting a 98. But some people got some pretty low scores. If you look at some of the scores people put in there, you'll see some people got hammered.
And
I mean,
it's 65. Let's see. Math score 65, 70,
and what? Yep.
75. And it's like 78. Good job.
But see, what? Here's the thing you got to notice. Do you notice how all of our scores are basically like pretty similar?
Yeah, 75,
like,
30.
We're in a range. We're in like a range. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, 30 math score.
65.
Yeah, so like we're all within that range, that 0 to 100 range, like that was in that reputation score and the math score, right?
I mean, I can see why it's called AZ Conservative Stop Election Fraud Election. Of course, your thing's gonna be low. You got it in your name.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's time for a new username.
Look at his follower ratio, and then look at his follower ratio when you go over it.
Yeah, you follow too many people.
Well, yeah, so you're gonna get hammered for that, which is I think
there
it's
it is, the follow score.
Because yep.
That is.
Yeah, but you can see where everybody ran it.
Based on analysis, the metrics for the account Elon Musk are as follows.
Yep.
95.
Told you.
Well,
remember when I said he was 90? It was 98 the first time when I first started doing this and I ran it, because he was one of the first I ran. It was 98, or it might have been 99.5 or so. It was like literally, they just should have just said 100.
And
it wasn't fooling anybody.
I've never had a community note. I don't say racist things, although I make racist jokes. I don't know if that's the same. Maybe it's the same.
The algo, as far as the algo is concerned, it may consider it.
It doesn't matter because it's the words.
Not care.
It's the keywords.
Yes. Right. It like you see, when you tell Grok to like be comedic, right? And it tries to be funny, like we talked about the other day, that's subjective, right?
Yeah.
What one person finds funny, other people won't find funny. So like when you say it, you might think it's funny, all your followers might think it's funny, but the guy that designed the algorithm, decided that what you said isn't funny. So, too bad. Your social credit score gets hindered.
This guy's got 45. Follows too many people. Says unvaxxed. Probably shouldn't say that.
Yep.
He doesn't even do anything. He just reposts existing stuff from like big accounts.
Yep.
Why does he have such a low score?
That's probably why, because he's attached to all these grifter accounts.
Look, hold on. He's got 5,000 followers. Jay Hill, if you're watching, you got 5,000 followers. And his only original post, where is it? November 6th. They ran it, then we lost. He's got 5 views.
Yeah. Nobody's saying anything. So here, that's where you gotta like look at. Okay, he's got 5,000 followers. 5 people saw it.
He's got 5 views.
Nobody saw his post, or all those accounts, all 5,000 of those accounts are bots, right?
I mean, there's like regular accounts in here.
Yep.
Well, not a lot.
Yeah, once you go to the followers that aren't verified, then you start looking through some of them. And here's the thing: some of them can look like legit accounts at first, but you go on their account and there's no click on that guy right there. See, like you go on there, not followed by anyone you're following. So like
But I
that to me is like a red
but I only
flag.
follow like 300 people. So,
Right. But for me, like I follow a specific group of people. So if I
mm.
see they're not following any of them, I'm like, okay, that's kind of suspect. Because, if you're like dealing with the stuff we're dealing with, like you've at least encountered one of these accounts somewhere.
And this account has never made an original post. But that's a lot of
No.
people. A lot of people just repost only. It's just a repost account.
Yeah.
It could be a bot.
But that doesn't mean that there may not even be a person behind it. It could be completely done with, botting.
Yeah, I mean, this is a real account. It's just this guy's just in like digital jail.
Yeah. Yep.
He got
Like I said,
five
once you kind
views
of hit
on
a
his
certain
thing.
point,
He's got 5,000 followers.
yeah. Yep. Pretty wild.
Okay, that's pretty wild.
So, so yeah, if we want to continue on. So that was the one I did for the reputation
Mm,
score and all that. The next one I did the labels. So basically, when I first did this, I was gonna post the prompt, but the prompt was too long. You could see like where it's there in red. If you scroll
mm.
down a little bit more, it basically wouldn't let me do it because I had too many characters.
Oh,
I was like over 7,000 characters or something like that. So I had to give people a procedure
mm.
to be able to do it, and so that's what I
Hold
did.
on,
And if you walk,
I'm gonna bookmark this. I'm gonna go back to it later. I'm gonna run it. You know what I mean?
oh, that one's fun. That one's fun. And so basically, what you do is you take my initial part right there, where it says analyze the account at the Parzival, but you'll put your account instead. For the account labels from the open source Twitter recommendation from the following code, and then I give you the link to where the code's at that we were looking at earlier.
Mm.
So if you click on that link, go back up, a little blue. Yeah, if you click on that, that'll take you right to the actual code. And that's the code we use to paste. And that's the same code that had the labels in it that we were looking at earlier.
Mm.
Same exact code. And so you just copy and paste that. I show you how to copy and paste it. And then once you put it in there, you just let it run. And down at the bottom, you'll see all the people and all the labels and stuff they got in the replies.
Let's see. Which is you think? What would be the? All right. Let's see what the replies are. Abusive, high recall. I got the spam top user, birdwatch disabled, blink bad, blink questionable, blink worse, compromised. These are all the labels this one person
Yeah.
has.
Mm-hmm.
Who is this?
Well, that's just half of them.
Oh, from Badlands, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like worried to click on. I'm worried to click on anything with a girl in the picture. You know what I mean?
Dude, seriously, the freaking world. Then they're like, "Oh, you want to see more chicks?" And then your timeline gets flooded straight up.
Her tweet has
I avoid that shit like the plague.
her tweet has 3.8 thousand impressions,
Yep.
and she's got 168,000 followers.
Yep, that's
So
about 1.5%.
all these labels.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you can keep scrolling down. I mean, so many people have ran it. Some people had some trouble at first, but if you keep running it, like if it doesn't run for you the first time, just keep running it over and over, and eventually it'll spit it out. That person has
It's
63.
got 63 also.
Yep.
389 views
Yep.
off of 26,000 followers. Holy shit.
Yep. So now to see how these labels kind of make sense when you look at the numbers on these accounts.
That's crazy.
But you can see a bunch of people ran them.
51.
And I think the thing that makes it
Hey,
like the
Key Game.
most realistic. I
Follows
think the thing
me.
that
Good
makes it the
job.
most realistic is, not everybody is getting the same exact numbers. Like
Yeah,
some people get 5, some people get 20, some people get 30, some people get 63,
and this guy's
but
ratio is
63
pretty
seems
good.
to be the highest.
So
Yeah.
it's not a ratio issue, bro. Don't follow me. You're ruining my cred. Unfollow me. Unfollow me right now. I can't have
You can
you
actually make
labeled
them unfollow
people.
you.
What?
You can actually make people unfollow you.
Oh, really? I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. You want me to show you how?
No.
All you do is you block them and then you unblock them. When you unblock them, it unfollows them
Oh,
again.
really?
Yeah.
No. I want
So,
key game to follow me.
so yeah, you can see we're here where a bunch of people just kind of went through it and found all their scores and whatnot, or labels, I mean.
61 labels. 62 labels.
See, that guy had, some people didn't run it right, but yeah.
Wow. Oh, thank you, Google Doc. Thanks, Corey. That's pretty wild. The
So,
Twitter account
the
of
other
Joe
night
Rogan
when
does
we
not
were,
have any labels from the open source.
surprise, surprise. I'm sure Joe will be happy. You can tell him his account is marked safe from labels for now.
That's interesting. I'm gonna save that. How do some people have 63 or 105 and Joe Rogan doesn't have any? I mean, okay, I understand how,
I,
but
yeah,
you know what I
well,
mean?
yeah. Well, just like I bet you if you started running some of Elon's fan accounts, you're probably going to see similar things that they don't have near the labels that others would have.
Hmm.
All right, so continuing on here. Um, so when I started like going through all this code and started trying to reach out to all these ex-employees and these big mega conservative influencers, I started noticing a pattern that a lot of them were connected.
Hmm.
And a lot of them were, and the same people were ignoring these issues. And so I was like, okay, wait a minute here. All of you are connected. You're all ignoring the issues, yet you're all benefiting from this.
Hmm.
There's clearly an issue going on here. So I went through and I started connecting some dots.
And the reality is, if
And
you understand how this works, then you can totally game it and use it for your benefit. You
oh
can you
yeah,
can you can
absolutely.
ruin dissenting people. You can ruin the other side, or you can game it and use it properly to boost your own self.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, a lot of these people that are close to Elon, right?
Hmm.
They don't have to go and learn the code. They just tell them, hey, get subscriptions and get a bunch of your friends to get subscriptions and you'll do great, right?
Hmm.
They don't need to know that there's subscription boosts in the code or how it works. They just know that Elon told them it works. Go do it. And so they go do it, but they all do it together. So you'll see like the same people, they're all subscribed to each other. And and a lot of these ex-employees are subscribed to the people that have been ripping off my work. Like literally, they're subscribed and following the exact people that stole my work verbatim. It's wild.
I think
So like
most,
right there on the
yeah, I think most
go
have a
ahead.
note. Most have noticed the major connections with the subscriptions between the same group. The same group pumped onto everyone's timelines. Well, once we start looking closer, we can confirm there's a hand moving the needle in their favor. Let's start with ex engineers. So he's
So
definitely
you
one of the
can see that
engineers.
that's
Known,
yep.
18 subscriptions. World of Engineering, Wall Street Silver,
Wall
Zuby.
Street Silver,
Mm,
Wall Street Silver, just to stop there. He ripped off my prompt for the Grok
mm.
for the reputation score. He literally ripped it off verbatim, word for word, and tried to post it. And he got caught, and he would never like admit to any fault. He just like ignored it. But he straight, literally word for word, ripped it off.
Hmm.
And then Zuby is where Elon Musk first started talking about the reputation score.
Hmm.
And that's where that post originated from X Daily for the 7 million views. So if you click on the next page,
Unusual Wills,
I think
Mr.
it's one
Beast,
more.
Greg.
Yep. So all the people that are getting all the views, right? But then you
Yeah.
can see X Daily in there. That's the one that basically ripped off my post. So
Shibetoshi
literally, the ex
Nakamoto, you
engineers.
can't avoid that account. The Crash Stage, you can't avoid
Yep.
those accounts. Elon Musk,
Yep.
you definitely can't avoid that account.
Yep. So that was like first ex-employee, and so basically, then I highlighted that they're following the same person
Mm.
that ripped off my post, and I showed my two posts there. I think that one actually has the date and the numbers on the two posts right below. Yep. So if you click on that, you can see how many views I got, how many likes, and then if you go to theirs,
7.3 million views, X days, X News Daily.
yep, same stuff.
Mm.
Actually, less informative.
But just a bigger
So
account.
just go. Yeah, exactly. But again, the point is it doesn't matter what you post. You can post that you have a cure for cancer. It
Mm.
doesn't matter until one of these other accounts post it
Yeah.
because they're the gatekeepers.
It's like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it is. And look at that guy got paid big money for ripping my stuff off. I got nothing.
Mm.
He got 7 million views. I got nothing. I couldn't even get subscriptions. He got 7 million views. So, but yeah, we just want to keep going.
How do we
And then if you
know
look at that
they're
account,
based out of Australia and the UK? Well, they actually told us in the profile. See for yourself. The last one, SWAC, is undisclosed.
so basically those are the contributors to it, and all these accounts are foreign accounts. They're not even from here. So basically, Elon is letting foreigners rip off my stuff and make money off my stuff.
Australia, UK, Australia.
And the last one was undisclosed.
Mm.
But my guess is it's probably Australia or the UK. I mean, I think I actually saw it later on, and it was. I can't remember. There's just so much. And then you got C. Stanley here.
Let's look at another ex-engineer who's officially subscribed to X Daily. Meet C. Stanley, who we already know as being incompetent of fixing anything on the platform. You're starting to get a little agitated.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell at this point that my tone has changed a little bit?
A year and a half later, starting to get I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest. You're a pretty patient guy.
I am very patient.
See, Stanley, 6 subscriptions. X Daily News, Subatoshi Nakamoto, Greg Bolte.
And Pulte. And do you know who Pulte is?
No.
Pulte is like one of the GameStop guys. He's like
Mm.
really big behind Ryan Cohen and all
Yep.
that.
Yep.
He owns his family owns Pulte Homes, and they build homes and stuff.
Yep.
He's got his own stock and all that. He actually reached out to me and had me run his scores for him.
Mm.
And so he followed me, reached out to me, asked me if I could run his scores. I ran his scores. He unfollowed me and then friggin' like didn't respond. I was like, dude, what a douche
What
move
a
is
douche.
that? I'm like, come on, bro. Like, you reach out to me, you want me to do you a solid, and you're gonna do me dirty like that? Damn. So, but again, you
Another
can see here,
engineer.
and look, same thing. X Daily, Greg, all the same people. I mean, it's literally, and you've seen what Red's working on. So this is kind of where like Red stuff started coming
Yes.
out of. Is I started pointing out like these connections, and then he's like, "Oh, I see it now." And then he kind of just went off on his own and just started tearing through stuff.
Yeah, we'll do Red stuff. I think another one because Red is literally breaking down the entire network of who's associated with who. So
Mm-hmm.
Parzival, you have been doing the code and the algorithm, and Red has been doing kind of the human connections, which is pretty interesting also.
Right. Yep.
Remember when Elon did his code review with the engineering team? Well, guess who was there? All the engineers.
Like all the guys showing above.
Yep.
That's C. Stanley and Hang Foy, I think is how he pronounces his name.
That all subscribe to Greg.
Yep. Shocker. And then here's where it gets interesting. So, in one of the pictures they posted, they showed some of this stuff, the Tweety Pie and the Social Graph and the Gizmo Duck and the Manhattan. That Tweety Pie you see down there, remember how I told you there was a folder that wasn't available in the open source? When I asked them about it, they posted it the next day.
Yeah.
That was Tweety Pie, and they had this on the board.
Look at
Um,
what
and
they were
then
discussing in that code review. We can see there these topics: Manhattan, Gizmo Duck, Social Graph, Tweety Pie.
yep, and Gizmo Duck to this day has still not been released.
Doesn't
There's a
mean they don't
file
have
for
it.
Gizmo Duck.
They just haven't released it.
Oh, it's 100% there. Like without a shadow of a doubt. It just they haven't released the folder like they did Tweety Pie.
And that's interesting
So
because most of the other things the names that they gave to the folders, they were very similar to what it actually was. But now that they're open sourcing, they're starting to use more code names.
yeah. So the code that itself, uh, they never thought anybody would see. Some of this stuff they actually put information out on. Like you can go and look at Manhattan and some of the documentation they've released regarding it. So they make up these code names because they don't want it to seem like it's censoring or doing anything. They kind of want it to seem like, oh, it's just part of how we work, right? So they give it these code names that don't seem suspicious at all. But in reality, you start looking into the code and there's a lot of suspicious stuff going on, especially with like Tweety Pie and all that. But yeah, like I said, Gizmo Duck, they still have not released it. And like when I called out the information on Tweety Pie missing, I called out the information missing for Gizmo Duck too, and they wouldn't post the Gizmo Duck, but they posted the Tweety
What's in the Manhattan project?
Pie. So there's a whole. I don't want to get into that specifically because I haven't dug into that a whole lot. But there's a whole. You can like if you go on the internet right now, like if you open a tab and do Twitter Manhattan, you'll find a ton of documentation on it. It tells you everything it does. It's even got some information on the website for GitHub.
What is it roughly? Like, just give me
I would say I don't even want to speak because it's been so long since I've looked at it. But when I looked at it, uh, it didn't appear to be one of the main facets behind what is running the recommendation algorithm with X. No, you'll have to do it on on Google or something. Google or whatever. Search Twitter uh, Manhattan.
I'm gonna look it up real quickly. Oh, what am I doing here? I don't want to do that.
That's fine right there. There you go. It was up at the top, I think. Yep, that one.
A
Distributed
real-time
database.
multi-tenant distributed database for Twitter scale. As Twitter a growing global platform, public expression and conversation, our storage requirements have grown too. Over the last few years, we find ourselves in need of a storage system that can serve millions of queries per second with extremely low latency in a real-time environment. Availability and speed of the system became the utmost important factor. Not only did it be fast, it needed to be scalable across several regions of the world.
So it's basically their database system. I think that's why I didn't look into it too much because it's just like their storage and operability and all of that.
The only reason that
I mean, I looked into it. I just dismissed it because I didn't see it relevant in the conversation. But
I would
there
say
could be some relevance there.
I think there could be huge relevance, and I only say that because when Trump announced that Elon and Vivek would be in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency, he called it the modern day Manhattan Project.
It's very well possible that there is a connection to that. I couldn't confirm that, but like I said, this is more of a database, so perhaps there's more going on with their database. But there's nothing in the code that I can look at that shows me anything nefarious going on, if that makes sense. That doesn't mean there's not nefarious stuff going
I just found that it just popped out at me, obviously, because they just said that.
on. Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
I think we'll leave that as an asterisk, and I want to get back into that maybe another day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Yeah, for sure. So, but the point is, yeah, they've had it in there. And then if you go to like Elon Musk on the next slide, you can see he follows a lot of the same people that have ripped me off. Wall Street Silver,
X
X
Daily News,
Daily,
Mario Nawful.
Mario Nawful. He straight ripped off my post and tried to pawn it off his own. I actually had a
And he's
community
not an
note on
American
his
either, right?
too.
Mario Nawfal is not an
No,
American.
nope, he's not. And I had a community note on his post too, and that one didn't get posted either.
Of course not. You can't avoid some of these accounts at all. I don't follow any of them.
No.
I know every single name.
Yep.
It's not obvious, but by now let's look at one of Eli's favorite accounts to pump, Doge Designer, which you cannot. I thought Doge Designer worked for Elon. Like he was,
Perhaps he does. It might be an undiscussed sort of agreement, but it's just
I thought he was an actual ex-employee. Because he gets shared so much.
technically he's not. There's nothing that says he's an ex-employee, and he doesn't have that on his page. So
That's interesting. For some reason, I thought it was. If it's not obvious by now,
some
let's look
people,
at one of Elon's favorite accounts to pump at CB Doge, who is one of Personal Ball Lickers, PBL. This is just one of the many PBL accounts on the platform. Subscribes to Greg, Ian Miles Chong.
Chris.
Oh, so Ian Miles Chong is his lane. Sturgeon of the Coin, Redhead Libertarian, The Rabbit Hole, Wall Street Silver, Sabatoshi Nakamoto, of course. Not Jerome Powell, ALX, of course. All the same accounts.
Yep. It's basically like, okay, think of it this way. I posted a video of the Three Stooges, the $10 Three Stooges, where he's like, hey, you owe me 10. And they pass the $10 around, and then eventually nobody owes anybody anything and nobody has any extra money. That's essentially what they're doing with the subscriptions. It's like you going, hey, Parzival, I'll give you $5 for your subscription, and then you can give me $5 for my subscription. And we both have subscriptions, but we didn't make a damn thing. But we have subscriptions.
And we get to see and share all of each other's posts on like schedule.
And we get a boost in the algorithm. You get a boost because you got a +1. I get a boost because I have a +1. But no money is exchanged hands other than X getting their small cut, right? So when you see all these accounts that got 20 subscriptions and they're all the same 20, X is getting their slice off the top, but all those
couple
accounts
dollars
aren't making jack squat. They're not making jack because you're paying me to pay you.
They're just trying to boost their account. So I should get 20 people I know to subscribe to my account. I should subscribe to them back.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll subscribe to you, Parzival.
I don't have subscriptions, but I appreciate it. I actually tried to game the subscriptions a little bit. I made my subscription fee 25 cents. And the reason I did that was obviously the whole gamer quarter, thing with Ready Player One, but also because if somebody pays me 25 cents, X has to pay Google a certain amount, and then X has its own fees. So for every subscription that I got, X would actually lose money because their fees are higher than the 25 cents.
I like that.
So yeah, and they actually approved my subscriptions. I just haven't done it. I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I will when I leave or something, just to see how much losses people can rack up on them.
This is only the beginning of the rabbit hole and the depths of these connections. When you start looking at who subscribes to who, it becomes clear that the needle is being artificially turned up for certain accounts. There's actually a boost for subscriptions in the code, which we were just talking about.
Yep.
So if you have subscriptions, then you get boosted.
Yep. And there's and not only that,
oh, there it is.
Boosted. Exactly. You get boosted and you get ranked. So like, let's say you've got subscriptions, right? You're going to take a notch above somebody who doesn't have subscriptions because you get that boost, right?
Mm.
But then you go into a whole pool of other people that have subscriptions, and based on how many you have compared to them, that determines uh, how much you actually get pushed onto people's timelines, right? So if you've got 300 subscriptions versus somebody that has 5, your chances of being promoted to somebody's timeline is higher.
Mm.
And the reason they want to promote that account is because that account generates revenue for X, right?
Mm.
Every time somebody subscribes, X gets a cut. So by promoting that account, getting more subscribers, X gets more money. But yeah, you can see the video where they're basically just handing each other the same money, and at the end of the day, nobody's here. If you want to play it, it's pretty funny. That's basically what the subscriptions are, dude. Seriously, it's all artificial.
Then you have this group of
And then you can
jokers
see,
that provide literally no value whatsoever, and are in fact actually very toxic people. There's our boy right there.
yep. There's him with C. Stanley.
Mm.
There's him with Harry Sisson.
Mm.
And some other favorite characters, Angela Bel Camino and Ashley St. Clair,
Mm.
and Harry Sisson. So basically, what that shows is all these people are part of the same club. I mean, you got the guys on the left and the guys on the right. It's all an act. They're all playing their part.
Mm.
And then you got Chaya Rychek and lives in TikTok. She's one of the ones that plays the games the hardest. Like she'll be like, "Oh, my account's so censored," and then like 30 minutes later, here comes Elon on her post. Oh, I'll look into that. Let me check that out. Let me see what's going on there.
Boost.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. Absolutely. And what's sad is I've actually talked to her in direct messages before
Mm.
and showed her some of this stuff. And she has reposted some of it, but she like reposted it like 1 in the morning, like
Mm.
when nobody's gonna see it, right? And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm gracious that you shared that. But then I saw like the next day, she's like, oh, I found this and I found that.
Mm.
And, oh, I got to meet Elon. I'm great. And yeah, check me out. So it was like, it became all about her getting the spotlight and not about spotlighting the problem. And that's when I kind of knew that she was just there for her own self benefit and not to fix things for everybody else, you know? And I think that's where I differ from a lot of these accounts is I could care less if I have 100% visibility. I'm here battling for everybody else's visibility, right?
Mm.
Because I want to be able to hear people. I want to hear what people have to share. If they've got knowledge and information, I want to see it.
Yeah, I mean that's what it was. That's what we were sold. Incredibly obvious. All these people are in together and don't give a shit about you. I think George Carlin said it best. They own all the big media companies, so they control just about all the news and information you get. They got you by the balls. George Carlin ahead of his time.
Way ahead of his time.
I've called out C. Stanley and Wang Hofei multiple times, as well as many other ex-employees. We deserve answers. They have not and will not reply to me in any capacity. Let's just see if they respond to this post, which they haven't, I'm sure.
Nope.
And then I remember they wanted to do the ID verification, which I think they stopped, right? Because they were going to do it, and then they went to Stripe. Is that correct?
Well, no, they went from they had Authentics, which was the Israeli-based
Yep.
company, and a lot of people got pissed off, and they switched. And then they said, "Oh yeah, we switched to Stripe." But what's really weird is they just changed Stripe in the terms, but when people were still going to verify,
It was
like
still
some people in Canada were still going to Authentics. So I don't know. I don't trust it at all. I don't trust it at all. I still think Authentics is still getting the information. So they may say, "Oh yeah, we're verifying you through Stripe." That doesn't mean your information is not getting sent to Israel. So I think we should be really careful.
Yeah.
And then that's a video Red put together. Him and I like did a little compilation. It's
Yeah.
about 22 minutes, but it kind of takes what I've explained up to that point and just makes it digestible without any code and more so just like thought um,
Yeah. I watched this video,
and
and we'll link
conversation.
this video to the bottom. I've watched this video, and it's actually really interesting. And it's a good kind of wrap up without the code. Yes.
Yep. And then those right there, the timelines paradox. That's when I went through and deleted all of my following or
Mm.
following, and basically I wasn't following anybody. And when I went through there, I found so each one of those, if you click into it, it's just an individual post. It's just I consolidated it there, and then that's just all I'm doing is quote posting the first one.
Mm.
But I went through it and just talked about like what you're seeing on your timeline, what it means. That is the chart that I told you about earlier that has your ratios, follower to following. And so what you want to do is be in the green.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when we saw that one uh, page rank,
Yeah.
score and all that, that's what that ranking system looks like right there. And so I went through and just was showing everybody, hey, you're getting these accounts that, all they do is repost the big accounts. So
Mm.
like they'll come along and they'll go, oh, I'm going to follow you. You're great. They might even comment on one of your posts. They get you to go, oh, cool. Somebody that's a new friend, right? Oh, I'm going to follow you back. So you follow them back and then they never engage with you again.
Mm.
And all they're meant to do is to get you to follow them so that they can repost the big accounts and have a better chance of the big accounts coming across your timeline.
Hmm.
So they're basically hijacking your timeline in a sense. It's wild. I'm telling you. I told you this shit's insane. So we can go through that. Skip past that. That's just talking about how they ignore you. Like
Mm.
if you go and comment under like a big account, like they might comment to you because you're a big account, but
Mm.
like generally small accounts, they won't reply back to anybody. Um, and so it's like literally you're giving them the reply, you're giving them the view, you're giving them the like, you're giving them the repost, and they don't even have the courtesy to like your reply back. That you spent time to do and give them that engagement.
Oh,
They can't even give you a like.
now you make me feel guilty. Cause,
No,
'cause
hey,
I'm really bad at engagement because I'm not, we've talked about I'm not on X that much. So if I put something up, I typically post something and close it up, and I'll come back maybe 3 days later or 2 days later. It's like, okay, I'm so far beyond. And that's the hard part because if you want to be good on X, then you have to post and you have to sit there and engage for maybe 30 minutes per each post, which is really confusing because how do some of these accounts that post 10, 12, 15 times a day have time to engage with everybody? But you have to post
hey,
often because the amount of time spent on app is important. We've seen that in the code. So
right.
you literally, all these big accounts have to be teams of people. They can't be one person. It can't be a single run account. It's not possible.
So did you see that Travis for Trump account?
Yes. That was a girl?
And then he switched to Jessica for Trump, and apparently somebody posted that he only posts like 25% of the time for that account. I
Mm.
mean, that tells you right there that they got multiple people running these accounts, and that's not even a big account. I mean, he's a big-ish account, but he doesn't have a million plus
Yeah.
followers. Imagine what the million plus followers do. They probably have 10, 12 people running that account. But the thing is, you get all these people running the account, and they forget about all the people that are making their account what it is. So I mean, like for you, I get it. You're posting something, you close it, but I'll tell you what, you will get a lot better response, even if you go in there 3 days later and go through your replies and just give somebody a like.
Mm.
Because if they get that notification that hey, he saw me, he liked my post, then the next time you post something, they're more likely to reply again because they're like, hey, this guy actually saw me and thanked me for my reply, even if it took you a quarter of a second to hit that like button.
Yeah, usually like a Saturday night, I have nothing else, and I can sit there and I can just shit post for an hour. I'll put up like the most random shit post, and then I'll engage with people and have conversation within that post. But I should do more. I should do more. I'm a horrible Twitterer. If anyone's watching, and you're like, Matt, you're a really bad Twitterer. I'm sorry. I can do better. I understand. Okay.
Hey, but you know what? Hey, that's cool that you can at least say it. A lot of these other accounts won't say it. Like, and here's the thing: it's different. You say, "Hey, I post something," and then I get off and I go do other stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's understandable. But these accounts are on all day, nonstop. So there's no excuse that, hey, I wasn't even on here to reply to you, right? At least you're saying, hey, I'm not here, but I will try to get back to you, whatever. But like I said, even if you just go through and like, that doesn't mean you got to like everything. If somebody says, hey, I hated your video, it was stupid, obviously you're not going to give them a like. You're going to skip right past that.
Those.
If somebody's, hey, great video, I like it. Okay, like, and you give them a quick like. It'll make a huge difference.
And I'm so like easy to like trigger, because if someone came on like, oh, you're an idiot, I'm like, oh yes, this is a guy I want to talk to. You know what I mean?
Hey, everybody likes to hit back at a troll, so I mean, I can totally respect that.
And it's always the ones that are supportive that are the ones that you kind of look past, which is horrible. Actually, it's a horrible part of human nature. You give the time to the people that hate you, and you don't show appreciation for the people that do support you. It's like such a bad thing that I do. I think a lot of humans do, but specifically me. So I want to try to do better. I will.
I try to engage with both. I mean, I like to take a good troll and turn it around on them, and turn it into something funny. But a lot of times, like if somebody posts something that adds to the conversation or is funny or witty or something like that, I might give them a reply back. But if it's just a general, oh, good video, okay, yeah, you get a like. If you gave me like, oh, this was great, and I want to know more about this, and blah, 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 right? Then I might give them a reply, because it's the conversations like that that keep them coming back and replying on the next one and liking the next one and sharing the next one. So that can help a lot.
I mean, just to give myself a little bit of excuse, I post and I engage and I go through comments on X and on TikTok and on Instagram and on YouTube. And like we have a Discord server, and it's so many things, and it's just me. Most people have like a couple people that help out with replies, or they have some sort of automated system. If I reply, it's literally me sitting here at nighttime, like responding.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's hard, especially if you're on multiple platforms. Yeah. Like I'm only on X, so I mean, it's easy for me to say, hey, reply to everybody and like everybody's stuff, because I'm not out doing the other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be cumbersome. So I mean, but still, that's the other point, right? These big accounts have these teams, and they still can't even do that.
That's true.
So
that's true.
That's something we got to think about. But yeah, so if you want to just keep rolling. Basically I got into the bots and how you can just have bot farms running, and we know that there's a lot of bots on this platform.
I'm gonna say like 50 to 70%. That's my honest guess.
Yep. And there's different kinds of bots, right? There's good bots and there's bad bots. So like a good bot is like, if you want your account boosted, you can have those likes come in and those reposts and everything and the views, and it makes your post look like it's super truthful, right? You got 1 million views and 5,000 likes. It doesn't matter if 4,500 of those likes are bots. A normal person's not going to know. They're going to go, oh, this has got 5,000 likes. This has to be truth. And then you get the bad bots that are like the porn bots that attach themselves to your account to drag you down. So you have these different range of bots that do different things. Some of the bots just like stuff. Some of the bots are follow bots. Some of them are repost bots, like we saw earlier, where that one account, all they did was repost stuff. So it all just depends what the purpose of the bot is.
Once this follow bot attaches itself to your account, you're left with few options, all of which negatively impact your account. If you continue to allow the bot to follow you, then there's a guilty by association impact through the follow score. If you block it, then your block score gets worse.
Yep. You lose either way.
What happens if you block and unblock?
Yep.
Does that still affect your block score?
It doesn't keep them from reattaching to your account then.
Hmm.
Because if you unblock them, they can always come back, like, refollow, repost, and reattach themselves to your account.
So all my
So
ex
for me
enemies, I'm just
personally,
gonna buy them bots.
yeah, I mean, you could theoretically you could just flood them with porn bots
Hmm.
and drag them into the depths of that triple X
Hmm.
location on X. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's why I particularly just block, because I'm like, all right, I can sit here and get hammered over and over and over again by this account, or I
Hmm.
can take the one time penalty and just be done with it. So generally, I just block it and move on.
Hmm. Oh,
It's a lot, bro. I put in a lot of time,
you
and
put in so much time.
this is just the post. This doesn't count like unfollowing. Like I had to unfollow 9,000 accounts
Oh,
to do this test. 9,000. It took 2 days to unfollow everybody.
you are
Yeah,
committed to the craft. I respect that.
I was. And you know what? Like when I did it, people were pissed. They were like, "Oh, you're not gonna follow me. You're a jerk. This and that." And I was like, "Just be patient. Just watch." Like, because I was doing it to show them like what they're dealing with, right? And when I got done, like some of the people that were mad were like, "Yeah, I shouldn't have been mad. Sorry about that. Like, I see what you were doing. I see the
Mm.
point. Like, thank you." And then you get people that were like, "Oh, I trusted you. I knew what you were. I knew you had something up your sleeve."
Mm.
When I came back, a lot of it made sense to a lot of people, because you had to show them that when you get to a point where you have no interactions between anybody,
Mm.
they're going to promote certain accounts to your timeline.
Yeah.
All the big accounts are going to flood your timeline.
Yeah.
And the key issue is, anytime, like, let's say you say, tell your friend, hey, join X, get on X, it's great. He downloads the app, creates an account, gets on X. Who do you think is going to be the first people that come across his timeline?
Mm.
Those accounts. And guess who they're going to be the first ones he probably follows? Those accounts. Because that's what X is telling him to follow. That's what's hot on X right now, right? And so that's why these big accounts get so many follows so fast. You see them gain 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers in a day, is because they're getting all those new accounts coming on, following them
Mm.
and getting promoted to timelines. So that's why it's easy for them to grow and for us not to grow, because they got the benefit of the doubt on it. All right, so we can go back. We can go back now. That's pretty much most of the timeline. So the cluster ranker thread. So remember how we talked about the clusters earlier, and how they group you up with other people and they can like
Mm.
shut down entire groups. Well, this thread kind of goes through like how they do all that. So you can see they rank by favorite score for the cluster ranker, rank by follow score, rank by log favorite score. Um, so basically, the cluster has its own ranking system by itself,
Huh.
outside of all these other ranking systems.
So they're clustering you and then they are ranking the clusters.
Well, they're ranking you, and then you're in a cluster that's ranked. And so, like, if you got a poor rank and your cluster's got a poor rank, good luck anybody ever seeing you outside of that little small group.
Ride or die
You're
together.
basically siloed. Yep, pretty much, pretty much. So, and I even plugged some of this stuff into Grok,
Mm.
and
And
Grok's even agreed with on what it is. I mean, there you have it.
the Twitter,
Okay, and then I did this one.
yeah.
So I did that one a long time ago when I first started getting into it. But there's a code called the Twitter Blue Key, and essentially what it is it gives you your blue check
Hmm.
mark. So if you just scroll down really quick, and we just kind of save the mumbo jumbo here. Keep going past all that. Keep going. Right there. It should say Twitter Blue Key on one of those. Yep, there you go. Twitter blue key. That's where it says that. Enable key. Twitter blue authorizes Twitter blue key authorizes the user to edit tweets
Hmm.
if they have the Twitter blue subscription. So when you edit your tweet because of your blue
Yeah.
check mark, that's the code that allows that to happen. So there's like these keys too that unlock certain features for you. Okay. So now you got scores, you got labels, you've got clusters, you've got subscriptions, you got blue checks, you got keys. Okay. And then if you go into this status counts thread, that's where I found that they can actually reduce your stats. So, like, at the bottom,
Hmm.
how it has your reposts and your likes and
Yeah.
your, all that. They can reduce those numbers internally automatically. So that might not be what you actually have. They can boost them or deboost them.
Why?
And I actually found because that way they can control the narrative. They can make sure the big accounts get that little extra sparkle and the other accounts don't get that sparkle, right? And
So
it doesn't have to be much. It can be 15, 20%, right? But it's just to make it look like you're not getting as much interaction as you should be.
so if you put up a post and you want people to think it's really popular, they could just manually add likes because you can't see all your likes. You can't see all the
Correct.
comments. You can't see any of it.
Exactly. It's all behind the screen. Correct.
So if you want to so if you post this picture and you want it to seem like everyone loves you, you could just you can increase these numbers
Yeah.
manually.
Yep. Yep.
So if I want it to look like people are commenting, engaging, all this, I could just increase this all.
Yep. Or if you want a certain politician to look like they're doing better,
You can do that
right? You
same.
can do the same thing.
I saved this
Yep.
one because this is a vanity post. Meaning
Yep.
the most information I believe on how it works would be in this post. Because
Yeah.
if you're going to amplify anything, if you're gonna bot anything, a post like this is what you would amplify and bot, by the way. Because it's a vanity post.
Yep.
You want people to see it. You don't want to put a picture
Yep.
of yourself on your timeline and nobody like it. That's embarrassing.
Right. Well, and not just that, you want them to like it more than other things too. Right.
So the chance of a negative post, negative comment being shown in this would be like probably like 0.
I mean, there's probably a few in there, but they're probably buried under probable spam, would be my guess.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no way that's going to show up. Well, it's probably going to be past the availability, right? Because it runs
Yep.
out.
The easiest
there you
way to
go.
do it, I would say,
One
is
bad.
right. But look how far you had to go, and how many views did that one get?
This one's got a lot, 28,000. Because it got, people
Oh,
found it and
wow.
reposted it.
How many followers do they have? 98,000. So,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they could have boosted it.
But that's the only one.
Yep.
Interesting.
And they probably just boosted that one just so it looks like there's an alternative post.
Yeah.
That's like, so it looks like it's fair for both sides.
Yeah. You got it.
So, yeah, so that's what the status counts thread goes through. Is it basically talks about the code that's making all that possible.
And again, that doesn't mean they're doing it. It just means that they have the ability to do it.
Correct. Well, technically, I think I've caught them doing it. And the way I've caught them doing it is when I get my notifications, especially when a post is new, it'll say this person and 12 other people liked this post. You know, when you see that?
Yeah.
But then you go onto the post and like 30 people have liked the post. You're like, where's the other 18? 15 that are supposed to be on there? So it's like, I feel like they're doing something with it. And then a lot of times I think this also ties back to, you know how likes get removed and reposts get removed and stuff like that.
Hmm.
This could be part of that too. Is like if you go and you like a Trump post and then you go back weeks later, the like's gone. This could be part of that action that's doing that. So and then let's see here. So this is the Grok open source thread.
Mm.
Um, I went through Grok and started looking at the images,
Mm.
and what I was trying to do was getting it to initially what I was trying to do was to get it to like create an image of your like scores. So like you see how all those people ran their scores
Yeah.
or from my prompt. I was trying to get it to create an image of like a scoreboard where like you can like run the prompt and get an image and just post the image, right? And it had trouble um, putting in some of the words, and so I started testing some of the word inputs
Mm.
into the image, and I noticed that there were certain things that wouldn't do, and the big one that Grok won't do, it will not do the Constitution. No matter what you do, you cannot get it to do the actual Constitution.
Hmm. But I mean, the AI generators always, even on like Mid Journey or some of the other bigger ones, they have trouble with text. So I can kind of see that because no one does text well.
Well, here's the thing: they have images to use from their learning models, right?
Hmm.
So it's not like they don't have access to working images to go off of. It's like it's redoing it in a completely different language.
Hmm.
So it's not even saying, okay, I'm going to take this image that I have in my database and just tweak it a little bit. It's literally has no Constitution images in its database, apparently.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be having this trouble. But you can see if you go back up, I actually did a test on Epstein.
Hmm.
If you click on the image, you can see what I said. I said, make an image saying Epstein didn't kill himself. And look at how it's spelled Epstein.
Hmm.
Epstein. But look at the picture of the person that put on there. So it put the right guy's picture, but it wouldn't say his name.
Which is interesting because some of the other AI image generators won't do people at all. Mid Journey doesn't do people at all. Grok is one of the ones that will do people and likeness, which is interesting because I don't know how that turns out, but I guess that's a conversation for another day.
Yep.
Okay.
And then if you keep scrolling, um, I went through the Grok tokenizer, and that's where the if you go up those,
Mm.
yeah, if you click on those images, Epstein was one of the words that was in the Grok tokenizer. So this is one of the files that has all these different words in Grok. Um, and there's some wild ones like I found in there that it had the three. See how it's got like words on each line?
Mm.
Well, in three consecutive lines, it said Trump actual shoot. And that was before the actual shooting happened.
Hmm.
And I was like, wow, that is wild that you have those three words in order prior to that actually happening. I mean, think of the probability that you have those three words in a row, right? I think there's 10,000 words in the dictionary. So the first word is 1 in 10,000. The second word is 1 in 10,000. The third word is 1 in 10,000. So all three
No,
is
statistically
10,000
impossible.
to the
No
third
coincidence.
power.
It's just a matter of
And
what does that
then
mean and why
it
would they do that?
actually happening in real life makes it even a higher probability that, it was just so wild when I came across it. I was like,
And
this is bizarro.
when was those tokenized words put in?
I don't know when they were put in, but I know when Elon released it, he released the Grok open source on GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
And supposedly you were able to download like a home version of Grok, and I was in the process of doing it,
And they took
just
it away.
testing it out. No, they haven't taken it away, but you have to have like two NVIDIA, like at least like 3090s to like run it.
Mm.
So I mean, you need like $8,000 in graphics cards to basically run the damn thing.
And that's the
Which I
personal
have,
version.
right? Which I have access to, but it's like,
Yeah.
um, I just haven't got back on that trail. I just tried it with my laptop.
Yeah. No way.
To So I was like, yeah, maybe that's for another day. And then remember how I told you that X is very aware of what's going on and Elon's very aware?
Mm.
Well, this is a report that they put out, and it shows how they're still suspending and censoring accounts and putting labels on accounts. So that tells us we know that the label system is still in place, the suspension system is still in place. We know the Tombstone system's still in place. The blue check system's still in place. So all these things that are in the code, they're all still taking place on the platform, which leads me to believe that we're still running the same exact code that's always been there.
And he said he was going to open source it. He dropped a little bit. He updated it like a tiny update once. They haven't went back and updated. So if the code, the algorithm is different, or they've made major changes, the onus is on them to prove it because they told us they were going to open source it and they've released it. It's not for us to assume or make any assumptions that they've changed it because they said they were going to update it and let us know. And they've never released the full code, which is contrary to what we were
Correct.
told they would do. Just want to clarify that. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you have a couple issues, right? And so issue number one is they haven't updated the code.
Mm.
So that tells us either one, they're not planning on updating the code, or the code is updated and it's no longer transparent.
Mm.
So you can't claim that, oh, our code is update and not make it transparent, yet say it's transparent.
Correct.
But you also can't say, hey, the code that is transparent isn't the code we're running because we have a new algorithm.
Mm.
So it's like they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot. But what mostly leads me to believe that they're still running this code is, do you remember that little scuffle Elon Musk and Mark Cuban had a little while back?
Yes.
And Elon said, hey, at least my algorithm is open source.
Yeah.
Well, how can he say that if the code that's on GitHub isn't the actual code that's operating open source, right?
Yeah.
So either that was a blatant lie or that is the code that we're running.
And then you're talking about a portion of the code, not the full code.
Correct. Yep. So that's the last part of it. Yeah. So even if he can say, yeah, we made this part of the algorithm open source, there's still a lot that is not. I mean, the models aren't open source. The keywords aren't open source. They haven't open sourced our scores. They haven't open sourced our labels. They haven't open sourced the rest of the code. I mean, there's a lot more that's still not open source than is open source. So I would say, if anything, we would say it's still not open sourced at all, just partially. But you can see on this the total number of government requests. I believe this is the government one, right?
Yeah.
The
Holy
government
shit.
requests. You can see that the numbers are not that high. If you look at compared to the other numbers, it's not that high. And if you look at how many actually like got disclosed, like there's only 2,500. It's a very small number. And if you look at the other things that they're doing without the government, I mean, there's millions. So at the end of the day, is it X doing most of the moderating, or is it the government? Or perhaps it is the government and X is just the one taking the heat for it. I don't know.
Well, these are the
That's the big
information
question mark.
requests, so it can be on people, right? They're giving up your
Correct.
information.
Correct.
Trademark stuff, whatever.
And that talked about the users and
Mm.
all that. So it's like users are going down,
Yeah.
and they're still, censoring people. And it's like, you can't do both. Like, if you keep censoring people, you're going to get less people using it. It's kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But yeah, let's see here. I want to scroll up maybe a little bit more. Okay, yeah, we're getting into some more meat potatoes there. So You can see accounts suspended. Look how many accounts suspended. 463 million accounts were suspended.
Holy shit.
Okay. Now, when we remember how I said a lot of this is happening automated,
Yeah.
out of 463 million, 461 million was automated. Only 2 million was done by a human. So most of this is happening in an automated fashion. And if you look at the user labels, look how many labels are automated. Almost all of them.
I mean, but this is what would happen if you fire 80% of your staff. Everything has to go
Yeah.
automated. There's no way for them to do it. So we literally have AI determining what is allowed and not allowed, what to label, what not to label. Yeah.
Yes.
Then who's
You have a robot determining how much your voice gets heard.
then who's in charge of speech?
Well, that right there is the magic question, my friend.
Who is
That
really
is
in
the magic
charge
question.
if humans have to prove their humanity to robots, because we do, because that's what the blue check is for. It's our way of proving that we're human to the bots, right?
Yep.
Because the algorithm needs to determine who's human, who's not. It's like, well, why don't you do the verification thing, and then this way you can prove. So we're literally proving ourselves to be human to the bots, because the bots run the platform. They decide what's labeled, they decide what's removed, they decide who to kick out. If we report to the bots, who's in charge?
Well, not just that, my friend. I mean, you're basically having to prove you're human to the bots. But then even after you prove you're human to the bots are still taking actions against you, right?
They still have
So
more
again,
power than
there's
you do.
yes, yeah, precisely.
That's another rabbit hole for
I
another day.
know. I know, dude, I'm telling you, like
I don't like it.
you're
I
starting
don't
to
like
like
it.
really
I don't like it.
I know.
I've been thinking about
Now,
this a
now you
lot.
see why I
I
have
don't
a
like
big
this.
problem. Now, all this stuff you're seeing right here, all these suspensions and all that, that's all happening with the code that I showed you. None of this is happening with magic fairy dust, right?
Yeah.
Something has to run all this, and that's the code I've been showing.
I'm going to save it. I'm going to come back to that report. That's crazy.
And then I think that might be the last one I did. Yep. I think that's
So,
no, go back one more. Let's see. That might be the very last post I did. Let's see. Yep,
yeah.
that's the last one. Yep. So, but yeah, I mean that literally walks you through it. So, I mean, I literally showed you, like, just to recap, I showed you how X has their little interface system that we saw from the Twitter files from Barry Weiss, right? We saw the interface on the screen that they use to monitor people's labels and all that, right? And then we walked through and we talked about all the labels and we talked about all the scores. And then we talked about all the ways that they use to essentially grade you as a human being through all those mechanisms. And now we can see on that report how a lot of it is automated and we're literally being controlled by the robots. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
And this is just we're being controlled by the robots, and a handful of people can manually increase different identifiers or different amplifiers to give it more power in one way or direction or another.
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, you have the automated portion that can do it, right? But then you have the Elon protected accounts that don't really have to abide by the rules, right? Like, we see accounts that can say like racist slurs, they don't get a label.
Hmm.
Any other account says it, they get a label, right? So those rules don't even apply equally to all the accounts, even though these rules exist. So you're not just battling the algorithm and the robot, you're battling the network you're battling the special rules and the big club that basically gets to bypass these rules. So I mean that there's a lot of discrepancy. It's not just the algorithm creating the discrepancy. Um, it's the way it's implemented that's also creating the discrepancy.
People think that
And we're
people think that Elon bought the app and then he was going to change it. The reality is he is using it exactly how the app was designed to be used.
Yep,
And there
exactly.
is no incentive to change it because it is really good for the purpose of spreading propaganda, for bringing focus on things and issues that they want, to data mine, and to use it for their own benefit. So
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you owned all the companies like Elon Musk, and you needed a place to advertise that, Twitter is the perfect place to advertise all that stuff, right? I mean, it's just for him. It's like, okay, Elon can buy millions of dollars in uh, advertisements for TVs and Netflix and whatever else if they're even willing to work with him, or he can just buy a platform and literally he has uh, an infinite supply of marketing, right?
mm,
He can make every single person see the Tesla truck or the new car, or that he flew his rocket, or that he's supporting whoever, he's doing this, right? He can literally control the minds of the people with this app.
we're gonna break that down again, dude. I think we're gonna cut the feed here. I still want to talk to you, but I'm gonna cut the feed here real quickly. If anyone made it this far and wants to check out his work, obviously the page is up, the Parzival, and definitely worth following. Definitely worth checking out. You said you may be disappearing. We'll talk about that offline. Go check out the feed before it gets removed.
Yep.
Any final thoughts you want to add, or
No, I just want to say for those of your followers that are listening and any of mine that may be listening, I've had a chance to get to know you pretty well here over a short period of time. And I'll say that there's not a lot of real ones out there that are willing to even discuss this, let alone spend an hour plus going through all of it to understand it, because it's significant enough and important enough to do so. So you're one of the few that have actually like rode this all the way home and like really absorbed what all this information means. So um, yeah, you're a good dude, man.
hey,
I
I
appreciate you.
appreciate you. And again, everyone follow the Parzival, and we'll do a recap and kind of follow up on this in the future. But it's pretty wild stuff, dude. I can't believe in our minds we always think, damn, one day in this dystopian future, then the robot's gonna be in charge. It's like, dude, we're already there.